Hi Avish, how's it?
I said, fine in you.
I'm okay. It's been a bit of a weird week. Seeing the cricket didn't really help matters. Another weather, another problematic weather-related match. But I do commend the groundsman for trying to make something happen out of this match because, yeah, man, a lot of hindsights, a lot of speculation going in my head. But what are your thoughts in general?
Look, I think the series as a whole, I think Pakistan would be a bit disappointed.
Hmm.
I would say, the weather played its part in the series. In fact, the weather actually won at the end of the day. If you look at it, I mean, you had 2-0 results and you had one result, which was the first test. So from a Pakistani point of view, it was a bit disappointing because I thought Pakistan, for large parts of the series, they were competitive. Um, it seemed like England were beginning to play their best cricket uh, in this third test because if I look at the way they batted in the first innings, a guy like Crawley, I mean, we found a star now. There's a star in the making at the top of the order. Amazing innings. Showed so much of control. Some classy shots. 267. I mean, that was phenomenal for a young player that's coming from county level. I mean, to be able to have that sort of patience at the crease, and bat that long, and puts your team in probably uh, in a winning position. However, as I say, the weather, played its part here. Uh, Fantastic innings from Crawley. I think he's cemented his place in this England side with that innings. He was a good player, but I think now he's a real talent. I think there's no doubts about his talent now. After 267, I mean, it's a phenomenal effort.
Yeah, man, I agree with what you're saying. That's why I've now moved onto this website that will confirm what you were just saying. Because if you look at the okay, here it is, 267 runs off 393 balls. What a
Fantastic.
knock!
Yeah, that was superb. I think you'd probably look back at this knock in years to come, and we'll be talking about it for a
Yeah,
long time.
and we mustn't
Because
forget
I mean, he
Butler.
showed so much of control.
We mustn't forget about
Yeah, I
Butler.
mean,
He batted excellently.
but Butler was a perfect foil. Yeah,
Hmm.
he gave he gave Crawley a lot of support,
Hmm.
and that partnership. I mean, it was record breaking. I mean, to see the way they were batting. I mean, they just looked effortless at the wicket.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were referring to the fifth wicket
Pakistan
partnership.
couldn't get
That's
them.
like that's over 359 runs. That's a lot of runs.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but I would say it's pretty close to the record. But I mean, no matter what, it's a phenomenal achievement from
Yes.
this England side, especially from a young player to step up like that.
Yeah.
But
And
getting back to this game, uh, it was disappointing to see so much of it being rained out so far. And, Southampton has proved once again that it's not a good venue.
yeah, and
It's
it's
not a good
also
venue for cricket,
but then it also
you got two.
begs the question that indoor cricket stadiums should really be seriously looked at because and I know they are expensive to be made, but yeah, man, something should be done. Like, you know how big ball cricket is coming to life? Maybe indoor stadiums could be something to embrace.
Look, the thing with England, I mean, August, September, July, August, September. I mean, those are big. Those are very busy months for them internationally. So, to lose so much of play in these crucial test matches, I mean, that's a cause for concern. Okay, England did win the first test, but we all know that first test could have went either way. So, just look at it at this scenario. Had Pakistan won the first test, England would have been, really fuming and trying to push for a win, and Pakistan would end up winning the series. So, it's I feel for Pakistan in a way, because they did fight. They fought till the end, and they could have easily been rolled over in this test match as well. But look at the knock from Ali. A captain's knock.
Yes.
He played a captain's innings there. He dug his team out of a hole there. And Rizwan, obviously, he had a good tour as well. He showed a lot of composure at the wicket, and he gave his captain support there. And they dug Pakistan out of a hole that they were in. Obviously, they were already in a hole because they were 310 behind. But I think the second innings batting as well was quite impressive. The way they occupied the crease, because I think it was 82 overs, almost 82 overs that they had, 83.1 that they had to play out. And if you look at the England attack, that would be more than enough over to bowl out Pakistan. But it seems like Pakistan frustrated the England bowlers,
Yeah. But then you also got to admit the pitch and the conditions were much more friendlier the second time round with the innings. I don't know. It just felt like that because I think a lot of the fuzz, a lot of the zip of the pitch seemed to have gone because of the weather conditions being a much more friendlier sunny-wise.
I actually thought this pitch was a belter. I thought it was a belter. I thought Pakistan didn't bat that well in the first innings. There were runs to be scored.
But then you got to admit, though, and under English conditions, it was overcast when they did bat. So I think that helped the English bowlers out. So generally in England, when it's overcast and with that Duke's ball, even the conditions can make a belter look pretty interesting. So yeah, I think we've got to be a bit fair there towards Pakistan. But yes, I know what you're saying. It was a batsman-friendly pitch.
Look, the key to making runs in England is definitely application. You got to occupy the wicket. You occupy the crease. And I know Ali. He showed exactly what's how it should be done. That was textbook. And Crawley. You need to soak up deliveries. It's not that the ball is going to come onto the bat like in India where it's flat. Or in Australia where it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You generally got to fight for your runs. You've got to fight for your runs, and Ali is a quality player. He's a quality player. I see him being in this Pakistan team for a while, and I think his captaincy it wasn't too bad this series. I would think that first test probably got it a bit wrong when he was bowling to to the likes of Butler and Oakes, and they took the game away from them. I think overall he shouldn't be embarrassed about the way he captained his team in
actually
series.
I was looking at this
quite commendable.
When I look at this third test match, and maybe it's just me being nitpicky or hypercritical, but I thought that England were just playing for the draw. Like if you look at that first innings, 586, and fine, the pitch may have been batsman friendly, but I thought they could have declared a lot earlier. Like they could have maybe made like 450 to 500 declared, and then maybe who knows? Maybe this match could have been England's. Could have been a 2-0 series win. So it's something to.
I guess. If you're scoring 583. 583 is a mammoth target. It's a mammoth total.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a lot of overs to actually get to that 583. It all depends on how you bat,
Yeah.
They could have accelerated. They could have declared earlier. I would think they should have declared at 490. 490 would have been, a good score. I think 90 runs too many, and they didn't have enough time to bowl out Pakistan. I think that's really down to Ali and the way he played, because he could have himself to get something out of this, to start with some pride, and he did that. But I think that the one player that obviously needs to be given credit here as well is Jimmy Anderson.
Yes.
sensational, man. I mean, this guy is a legend. I mean,
Yes.
600 Test match wickets. I mean, talk about the numbers. It's just the longevity. I mean, he doesn't seem to, losing that zip. He still got it. Even at this age. I mean, his fitness levels are quite, amazing. To be a quality. I mean, to be an opening bowler and to do it every season. I mean, you're a seasoned campaigner now, and honestly, I never saw it coming. I never saw a fast bowler who would have got 600 wickets, and there's only two other bowlers that are ahead of him now, which is the two spin twins, the spin wizards, Murali and Wan. So, I mean, those are the. I mean, you wouldn't miss a chance to not compare to those, two legend game.
Yeah.
Wan and Murali. I mean, to be behind those two, I mean, it's quite phenomenal, especially for a fast bowler. The fast bowler has so much more. Amazing how he's managed to keep his longevity throughout his career, and he's taken wickets generally all over the world. But I think in England, he's been a bit unplayable at times,
Yeah, I was going to bring up that point because, not to be controversial, because most of his wickets would be from England. And I think Shane Warne had brought up an interesting idea that when it comes to overseas, that they should probably let Anderson be mainly in England so that he can play longer. And I think that's not a bad idea because Anderson could be like a player coach. Doesn't have to really play in the matches, but be like the assistant. So it's an interesting idea by Shane Warne. Shane Warne comes up with some really out there ideas. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, Wani, well, he's got a very good, cricketing brain, and he's been around, and especially with England, having played county cricket for Hampshire, so he's fully aware of the England setup and so forth. So yeah, no, he's always he always gives good advice, a little bit controversial now and then, but he's a guy, especially if you're a cricketing fan. You cannot hide past, you got into him because I guess he makes a lot of sense sometimes,
Yeah, because I'm sure if Anderson mainly plays at England, and then obviously I'm sure you'll get to that 700 quite easily. Like if you look at New Zealand, England, South Africa, I think Anderson should play those sorts of matches. I mean, those sorts of play in those countries. The other countries, he can, not play there.
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
I know I was saying that Anderson should rather play in countries that will suit his bowling, like in England, New Zealand, and where else? Where's the other country now? Oh yeah, and our country, South Africa.
Look, I think Jimmy, as I say, I'd call him a legend because I mean the longevity of his career. I guess if you had to look at it, if there'd been one criticism, he's taken majority of his wicket in English conditions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how successful he's been in the subcontinent. He probably wasn't given much to work with in those sort of wickets, because you got to have a slower ball, you got to have those cutters to be able to take wickets in those conditions.
I remember he did well in India.
I would say.
I remember he did.
If there's one thing that he obviously wants to, if there's one thing he wants to achieve before he obviously calls it a day, you obviously want to regain the ashes,
regain the ashes.
That's the main target at the moment, is to regain the ashes. Look, England, they haven't done that well in Australia in recent. I think the problem with the English attack is they're a bit one-dimensional. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah.
They don't have that variety. There's a lot of medium pace. You actually need I mean, to win test matches in Australia, especially, you got to have a bowler that's going to be bowling 145 to 149, per hour. Somebody that's, like a Stain or the India, they have Bumrah. So I mean, those are the players. Those are the teams that do well in Australia. With England, they've got good bowlers. They've got skillful bowlers, but they just need a little bit of pace in their attack.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm
because I mean, medium pace is not going to trouble the Aussies.
true. Yeah,
look,
but then
I mean, getting back to pace, I think there's one bowler that can trouble them, but I think he's a bit erratic at times. Is Archer,
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get from Archer sometimes. He can go for us. He can drive up an but he bowled well in the Ashes last year. I'm not sure how he perform on English wickets because I'm actually looking forward to that Ashes in Australia. I'd like to see how England actually performed it because
and
that would
play
that would
good
obviously
as well.
tell me a lot about England. Yeah, I guess that would tell me a lot about England because if you look at India were number one test team for quite a while, and I mean they managed to win a test series in Australia. I mean, which is no mean feat, I mean, we all know how difficult it is to win in Australia. So, I mean, there's only two other teams I would say in the past 20 years that have won it, which was England, obviously 2010, and the Proteas have won it 3 times. So I think they've been the most successful team against Australia. In Australia, I think whenever the Proteas play Australia, it's like they're always in a good frame as opposed to Australia, So that's the one thing working in their favor. But when England play Australia, it seems like Australia in a good frame. So it's quite interesting. But I would think it's the Ashes. You there's a lot more at stake. There's a lot of pride to play for. I mean, to regain that earn is quite a it's tradition, and the rivalry is so fierce. I mean, you obviously want to beat your old foe,
Yeah,
and I quite love that rivalry.
Yeah, man. But I think if England won, then
I quite enjoy the Ashes because you're gonna get competitive cricket. That's the main thing. You're gonna get competitive cricket. That's what we want, quality. You get quality cricket.
Yeah, I was thinking that if England can get Archer and Wood playing in Australia, that would be fun, man. And then also, if I'm looking, I think we've spoken so much about the 12 for the Ashes. I think we forgot to mention about the man of the series and the man of the match. I mean, of course, we did mention about Zach Crawley, but he was a deserved man of the match. And Joss Buttler, obviously, I think that confidence from the first test has helped him score runs consistently for the second and third. And
look, I mean, if I go back and I read the series now the way it is, the first test in Old Trafford, obviously it went in England's favour. It was a close game. I mean, we all know what a close game it was. It was quite a thriller to watch, the second game was really bitterly disappointing,
Yes.
I mean, probably got like 3 days washed out, and really disappointing. I would say the only player that obviously stood up there was this one, with his innings of 60 plus in the first innings for Pakistan, and the third test, well, it just dwindled out as well, So it's been a strange series. As I say, weather has played the part. Weather has won the day. Yeah. I mean, it's determined the result in the end of the day. A little bit disappointing. It's quite interesting that the play of the series. I mean, we had no doubt man of the match. Crawley was just shoulders above the rest as a player. But play of the series are quite. It's quite interesting that they share between Butler and Rizwan, and I think credit can be given to a guy like Rizwan because he obviously showed that he deserves his place in the team.
Yeah, but I have a theory though.
I'd say fighting batting.
But you see,
was quite impressive.
Yeah.
Butler, I think Butler after the series, he's probably the complete player now at test level. I think there was a bit of question marks on his form in the test team, but I think he's obviously put to bed all those concerns, and I think he's obviously going to be the preferred choice at number 7 now for a long time to come. So he's really cemented his place in this team.
Yeah, you see, I have a theory though. If Pakistan had won the first test, right, then in the third test, I think England would have probably been a bit more proactive. They probably would have declared earlier around, let's say, 4:50, and then I think it would have been nice to have seen how the match would have panned out, because England would have bowled out of their socks, and then they might have had to maybe even force a follow on, and then it would have probably been a drawn series.
Most certainly. You look. I guess your change.
I mean, as a captain, your mindset is obviously determined by the way the match is obviously going to pan out. Yeah, they probably wouldn't have batted so many overs, I would think, if they were pushing for a result. I still think they shouldn't have batted that many overs in this match, and they would have still got a result, or they would have been close to getting a match. I would think, England, 400. I mean, 583 was a target. I mean, there was no way that Pakistan were ever going to get close to them.
Yeah, I think England were playing for the draw, man.
The first test when Pakistan had England at 117 for 5. I mean, who would have thought coming the third test we'd be talking about that scenario where, I mean, that is where the series was won and lost. I mean, it's so strange. We had 2 tests that were washed out, and that was the point where Pakistan could have actually, they could have went for the kill. They could have went for the kill, and they didn't. They just let England off the hook there, and England obviously credited them. I mean, the way they batted.
But then I don't know.
It was sensational what works.
Yeah, it's gonna sound funny because I should be complimentary towards England's victory in the series, but I feel they got lucky because they were dropping catches, man, especially in the second test. And then, I mean, I was thinking if they did this against Australia, right? I think they would have been punished for it. So I think they got to improve on their catching, and I think they got to be a bit.
No, definitely.
I look at it's difficult to gauge as to how evenly matched these 2 teams are, because the first test told me a lot about these 2 teams. They're quite evenly matched. I think England in the third test they got their batting spot on.
Yes.
But they from both squads, I don't think there was actually much to choose. Both have good attacks. I would say England probably have an advantage in terms of their top order, which is a little bit more experienced than Pakistan. But Pakistan are going to be growing. In years to come, they're going to be a quality test team. I think this is the end of the road. There's a lot of potential in this Pakistan team. They can be a good test team.
Yeah.
They can compete with the best.
I think the only challenge for Pakistan is winning in SA and winning in Australia, winning in those big.
But then Asian
those
teams,
big series, that's a bit of a concern for them.
Yeah, but Asian teams have always had problems.
I think against Asian teams, they do pretty well. I think against the West Indies they do pretty well. They'd actually do well against England in their home conditions, But the challenge for them, it's actually funny. It's actually sad that India and Pakistan don't really,
Yeah, that's a story for another time, my friend. It would have been
interesting to see how Pakistan would have performed against India in the test arena. It's
the only way that'll work.
It's a real shame in international cricket that we don't get that.
maybe when we have maybe if these two can meet
Well,
up in the finals or something, maybe the Test Championship final, that'd be so cool to watch. But anyway, that's a wishes story, man.
look, I guess
this whole situation, India and Pakistan, has more to do with politics than with the sporting front, So I think politics is overshadowing everything, and cricket is made to suffer, because of politics, which is a real shame, It's a real shame.
Yeah, actually, but on a final note, I know that the Australians are coming down to England, and I think they only come for the 1 day, so that's going to be exciting. What's your prediction on that?
absolutely really, really exciting stuff. And look, that England side is quite exciting. And we all know, I mean, that the World Cup and the World Cup heroics. Look, Australia, they probably want to, make it a big series as well, because they haven't. I think they're rusty. England will probably it's a little bit in their favor because they played a bit prior to the series, so it's an exciting series to actually follow, and it's a good dress rehearsal for the IL in September.
Yeah,
Which is
but then, so you're predicting England to
Okay.
take this one?
Geez, for prediction. Look, these two teams are very close together. Is it a 5-match series? Is it a 5-match? I think it's a 5-match series.
Oh, I thought it was a 3-match series.
Um,
Okay, let me see on my side quickly. Oh, England and Australia. Oh, sure, but I might have been show of hand, which is a bit embarrassing. But I'm sure it's a 3-match series. Let me just check something on my phone. But then, regardless whether it's 3-match or 5-match, it's going to be exciting. I mean, if it's 3-match series, I think England might snatch it. But if it's
it's
a
going to be
5-match
exciting.
series, Australia might flip it. But I might be wrong because England did beat Australia 5-0 the last time Australia came to England. Remember that? I think Joss Butler batted outstandingly.
Yeah, we all know about that. It was quite a humiliating.
I think there was quite a humiliating series for Australia, because there were quite a few records that were broken there in that series. Batting
Yeah.
records. So yeah. Look, England, I just give them. I'd make them slight favorites here, due to the home conditions and so forth. But you can't write off Australia. But I think Australia would probably use the series to blood a few youngsters. So I'm not sure how much of importance in placing the series on. It's good they have a series before a very important summer, so they can gauge on what players they do have in their system. So I mean, the Australian system is obviously very competitive.
Yeah.
They always produce
Quality players, quality over quantity.
and it's amazing. Australia is such a small country, but I mean they always produce quality in all formats. It's a compliment to their system. They've got a very strong system there, how they pick players.
Yeah.
And I think England obviously getting into that. The England are picking players that are based on certain formats of the game, where you've got a 1-day team and you've got a test team.
Yeah.
Because I think the way international cricket is going now, you've got to have,
I would say, 3 different squads.
You have a team, you've got to have an ODI team, and you've got to have a T20 team. I think that would obviously be very successful. It may make you a very successful team. You've got to have your specialists in different formats.
Okay. And lastly, who are you predicting that could swing it for both teams? I know Smith and Warner are the ones to look out for. England, I think it would be the usual casualties, Butler and Root, and who else is the other one? And Archer, maybe, if he's playing in the 1-dayers.
Look, I think when you be talking about India, I think the boys at the top of the order. I mean, they're always explosive, Roy and Pesto, so they're going to be big players. And the middle order with Morgan, I think you've got Vince there as well. I think he's playing a bit of an experimental team. I'm not sure how much I'm not sure what squad England are actually going to pick here, but yeah. And then the bowlers Wood. You've got I think the attack's a bit of a inexperienced attack because I remember the ones they played against Ireland was a bit of an inexperienced attack, and they end up losing that that last ODI.
Yeah,
It was
man,
quite
don't
a
mind me.
sensational run.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, amazing chase Ireland. So I think England, if I were to on how they would play, they probably want to outbat Australia.
Hmm.
So they probably focus on the batting and not to the bowling. So they probably want to outbat Australia, be it score or chasing the score down. They probably want to outbat Australia because, I mean, we all know that this team is very capable of chasing 350, 360 on a day, especially
Yeah.
on flat wickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
I think they probably want to outbat Australia. They've
think-
got a powerful.
But then it does help. I mean, I guess if you have pitches that are going to be batsman friendly, you would probably say England will easily win. But if you have pitches that are going to be a bit more fairer, I think you might see Australia could snitch it. So it'll be interesting to see what pitches we get. And then, yeah. And then on that final note,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is correct because you kind of sense that you saw a bit of it in the World Cup as well, where when the pitch was flat, England were obviously in command, but when the pitch wasn't flat, it had something in it for the bowlers. They got themselves in a bit of trouble, So yeah, when it comes to a flat wicket, they're obviously very good. They know how to handle the game on a flat wicket. I've seen them score mammoth totals, and I've seen them chase the mammoth totals as well because it's not beyond them because they've got this way of playing the game now where you've got to set the run rate at the top of the order, be it 7 and 8 and over, and then make it easy for the top middle order to come in and just chip away, and then you start again at the end of innings, and you just blast. They were just blasting teams away, especially on flat wickets. But I would like to see a little bit of sportiness in the wickets, where there was, a little bit in it for the bowlers. I feel the bowlers, get tormented a lot these days, especially in ODI cricket. So I like to see a good wicket, a 50-50 wicket, where there's something in it for the bowlers and batsmen. I mean, you'd love to see high scoring game, but I mean, I guess it takes away a bit of that, the role that a bowler plays in the team. So I'd like to see a little bit. I'd like to see a little spice in those ways, But let's see what happens. I got a feeling it's going to be flat.
Yeah, of course, it's like home advantage, and you don't want to create wickets that are going to take away your home team's.
I definitely think it's going to be flat.
Yeah. And yeah, and on that note, thanks so much for your time, my friend.
Thanks. Good chatting to you, Sid. Chat to you soon.
Sure,
Cheers.
man.